Welcome to Eating Trends. I am your host, Charlene, with my co-host, Niobe, nutritionist and coach, and together we bridge the food connection by discussing popular diets and the latest nutrition lifestyle. It's Eating Trends, where eating becomes trendy. Welcome to our podcast, everybody. Today we are talking about the no sugar diet. That's right. The no sugar diet has gained popularity as people looking for effective, quick, even I would say extreme ways to stay healthy and or lose weight. Now, not everyone is convinced that the low sugar diet works. However, for all the health benefits of a no sugar diet, there are always a few things that you want to consider. So, Niobe, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when I say no sugar?
Now you know, Charlene. What I always want to know about these eating trends is what type of diet it is. So what is this no sugar diet?
So let me say this. First, a person on a no sugar diet, even no carbs, is a diet with a focus on eating whole and complete foods. And of course, this way of eating is always rich in vegetables minus the starchy ones. The aim really is to eat 100% whole foods because processed foods are more likely to contain refined ingredients and added sugars.
Now you mentioned non-starchy vegetables, right? So are carbs considered sugar?
Well, let's say it this way. Many no sugar diets also recommend that people avoid simple carbohydrates. Now, simple carbohydrates can include things like your white flour, your white pasta, and even white rice. Even in the vegetables, you lean more towards a sweet potato rather than a white potato. Now, the carbohydrates in these foods can be quickly broken down into sugar in the body, which may cause the blood sugar levels to spike. So a person can replace simple carbs with vegetables like cauliflower, quinoa, even steel-cut oats. These are all better options for the carbs.
And any foods to substitute the sugar now? Because that's the concern. How do you go without sugar? Because sugar is everywhere. So what foods should I eat to substitute the sugar? Like, what about artificial sugars?
Yeah, that's a good one. Now, artificial sugars has just been used, and sugars have so many names. But when it comes to artificial sugars, really, it's a subject of controversy in the no sugar diet industry. Foods with added sugar are usually high in calories and generally not even nutritious. Now, in the case of artificial sugars, they are, really believe it or not, they are much sweeter than sugar, but contains little to no calories. Now, however, eating artificial sugars can trick the body into thinking it's actually eating sugar. So this here really can exacerbate a person's sugar cravings and make it just a little bit more difficult for them to stick to the no sugar diet. So I would say things like Splenda, Stevia, Equal, NutraSweet, and there's even an old one, Sweet and Low. Avoid these artificial sugars because people can actually also look for the chemical names of these sweeteners in foods, like things like aspartame, sucralose, saccharin. You want to look in the ingredients list because especially in anything marked as low sugar, low calorie, or perfect for the no sugar diet. So you definitely want to consider artificial sugars as maybe a no-no when you're doing the no sugar diet.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that because personally, I thought the no sugar thing was fine for the diet. But now gaining this information, you're saying that it can actually cause me to crave more sugar.
Yes, because artificial sugars they are sweeter than regular sugar. So it has like a false perception to the brain, making you thinking that you're having so much sugar because it's sweeter. And what actually happens is you find that the body is craving sugar. And I think this really works for people that are starting out for the first time with the no sugar diet because I can tell you I've done the no sugar diet many times. I usually do it in sometimes 7 to 14 intervals. I've even done it for 21 days.
You've done that for 21 days?
Yes, it is no joke, Niobe.
Wow.
But I can tell you this, when you're eating no sugar, when you're starting out in the transition, your body responds a little bit different if you've been on a eating plan that has no sugar for a longer period of time. And so, how do you avoid sugar? Good question. Read labels. That's what you want to do. You want to read labels. Once you've managed to cut out the most obvious sugar, Niobe, from your diet, then you can actually turn your attention to other products that contain sugar. Like reading labels can actually help identify types of sugar to avoid. Now, the thing is now, sugar has so many names. They come in so many different syrups, so many different concentrated. Listen, I have never, listen, the world now, sugar is no longer sugar.
No, you don't even know
I
these things have
know.
sugar in it.
And
So.
sugar hides in many different foods in the supermarket. So reading the label is an absolute must for those who want to follow a no sugar diet. Listen, I was doing some research the other day, and did you know there are, I think, about 60, somewhere around there, different names for sugars on food labels? Can you believe that?
I can't believe you on that.
Listen, I've seen everything from, first of all, the regular cane sugar, brown sugar, evaporated sugar, beet sugar, coconut sugar, maple sugar. There's even the syrups when you look at agave syrup, rice syrups. I know you've seen them all. And a lot of these, someone said to me the other day, what is Dermara? Again, that's another type of sugar, sucanat. There are honey. They even have apple and grape juice concentrate as a sweetener. What it really is just sugar. I feel like the industry has just become so tricky when it comes to sugar. So when you're on the no sugar diet, if you're eating no sugar, you have to be able to read labels. And here's another tricky one, the oats. People should also be aware of anything ending in the suffix ose, O-S-E, because really that's also a type of sugar, sucrose.
I've learned about that.
Yeah, glucose, dextrose, fructose, lactose. And lactose is actually the sugar that's naturally occurring in milk, in dairy. Yeah, so when you're eating no sugar, you have to really be mindful and read your labels.
So after reading labels, you being mindful, you paying attention to these 60 plus names of sugar, what foods are then considered the right kind of foods for me to eat on this no sugar diet?
Well, you're absolutely right, because the promise is that you really could lose weight with no sugar. It just has to be made up with the right kinds of fruits and vegetables. And the focus, Niobe, is really on whole foods. That's your primary focus. And so when you're eating no sugar, you have to aim for your food to be pretty much 100% whole foods. So the diet with the focus on eating whole foods and complete foods.
I say that that's a commonality amongst the eating trends here is the whole food.
Yeah, and you're right, because see, what I found is there were 10, 15, even 20 years ago, when we talked about eating trends, they were all around weight loss.
Yes.
Now today, it's a combination of weight loss and feeling better, becoming more wellness. You got it. And so a lot of the trends now are moving towards what we refer to as whole foods, foods that are less processed. So when you're doing no sugar, right? You want to be big on your vegetables. Of course, fruits, your lean meats, poultry, even tofu is a good option as well for your protein, fish. You want your grains and legumes to be whole, your nuts and your seeds. Some people may even choose to keep sometimes even a small amount of dairy in their meals, like plain yogurt, simple cheeses, not the fancy ones, just the plain aged cheddar or some raw goat cheese, and even in some cases, milk that is lactose free. We talked about lactose earlier with none of the sugars.
Since you mentioned all of that, can I eat no sugar for more than 10 days? Like, is it sustainable beyond that point?
So let me say this. Before you embark on a no sugar diet, a person really should consider whether they want to eliminate natural sugars as well, because there is such a thing that is naturally occurring sugars and added sugars. So once you've made that decision whether you want to eliminate natural sugars, then we have to now start to think if 10 days may be a little bit too long, or even if it's sustainable. Now, when you talk about natural sugars that are found in fruit and in some dairy, while some no sugar diets say a person should eliminate fruit, this may not always, in my opinion, be a good idea. Because really, when you look at fruits can provide many of the nutrients that we're lacking. Of course, the fiber, and fruits and generally are loaded with antioxidants. So other healthy components that, help to protect the body from diseases. So what I like to say is if you're thinking about going on a no sugar diet and don't necessarily want to eliminate the fruits because you want to do it for more than 10 days or make it a little bit more sustainable, you want to look at your fruits that are acid fruits and subacid fruits, unlike the sweet fruits, which have a little bit more sugar naturally occurring.
So what are some acidic fruits or sub-acidic fruits?
Well, so when you look at those fruits, those are the fruits like pineapples, tangerines, your citrus fruits, oranges, apples as well. I said grapefruit. Didn't I say grapefruit already? Pomegranate. I thought pomegranate was actually considered a sweet fruit, but apparently it's not a sweet fruit. When you look at pineapple, plums, peaches, these are more your sub-acid fruits. The berries is always a good way to go.
Yeah,
strawberries, all of the blueberries, the boysenberries, these are considered acid fruits. So they have some sweetness, but they're not as sweet as fruits like your bananas, your dates, figs, persimmon, even grapes as well. So when you're trying to actually do a no sugar diet, but you want to keep in a little bit of the fruit, which is naturally occurring, I normally recommend sticking to the fruits that are acid and subacid. That's your better choice for helping it to be definitely more sustainable. And in some cases, you can go on to no sugar diet up to even 30 days.
And these subacidic fruits and acidic fruits tend to have a lower glycemic index. That's why they encourage that we eat these more often.
Yes, absolutely. Because see, the thing is, when you are on a no sugar diet, you tend to have withdrawals. Now, for some people that decide that, you've heard of it, right?
Yes.
For some people that decide that they don't want any sugar, whether it's naturally occurring or not, what I say to them is whenever you start to sense a spike in the blood sugar levels, when you're eating the no sugar diet, this is a good time to get a half a cup of any of the acid or the subacid fruits, and berries is always a quick go-to one. Blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, they're quick. You don't want to do cherries because cherries are actually more on the sweet fruit side, as well as grapes. I know, I said all as well too, right? So that kind of helps to balance it out. When you're having those sugar spikes from eating a no sugar diet. Also, it helps to make it a lot more sustainable when you're adding in a little bit of fruit every now and again. Another way I found, Alicia, is when you do no sugar diet, this is the perfect diet to go 7 days on, 2 to 3 days off. 7 days off, 2 to 3 days off. Now, my favorite for me is Monday through Friday, I'm eating no sugar. And Saturday and Sunday, I eat whatever it is I want.
Okay. I think that's good. I mean, it helps to like maintain your sanity a bit.
Yeah, it does.
It gives you the boost to go the next 5 days.
Right.
With your example that you gave.
Yeah, and plus you still have really the benefits of really experiencing a no sugar diet. And I've done 5 days on and 2 days off for 6 months at one time, and it worked out really well for me.
So when you said 5 days on, you meant 5 days with sugar?
5 days without sugar. Yeah, 5 days on the no sugar diet and 2 days eating whatever I want. And what I normally do in those 2 days is I just really make my dessert. And because I'm still wanting to eat healthy, what I do is I just make a lot of stuff from home. That's what I do.
That's the best way to do it.
You see, let me tell you, one of the things is when I do my videos on my YouTube channel, Eat Emotionally Well, because I'm a foodie. I love sweets. I love chocolate. I have to make my desserts because usually I'm going to eat the whole pie.
So even though when you go these 2 days off, doesn't that kind of put your body into shock? Like, oh, we getting sugar again. Let's start craving more sugar. Like, how do you transition back to the no sugar for the next 5 days?
I love the question. I can tell you it. When I first started, when I embarked on those 6 months of eating the no sugar diet, what I found was when I had simple carbs, my body went into shock. So whenever I had those simple sugars, like let's say I had a mint or even, I don't do commercial candy bars anymore, but even when I did commercial candy bars, I found that I had a shock. And so what that did for me is that made me decide to eat before I started making my own desserts at home and adding in my chocolates and making them from scratch at home. What I did was I ate more fruits when I was off. But tamarind happens to be one of my favorite fruits in the world. But I just learned it's actually considered a sweet fruit. So it is loaded with sugar because it's also dried, like a dried fruit.
Right.
And so when I bought a box, I used to eat the whole box. And then I turned it around and found out there was 4 to 6 servings in a box.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I didn't understand where I was getting the spikes from. So
it's so strange because sometimes tamarind can be a little tart. Or
exactly.
So you wouldn't think it's
Right.
going to be really
Let me tell you,
sweet.
I only learned that tamarind is actually a sweet fruit. For the longest time, I thought it was considered an acid fruit.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, I still have tamarind from every once in a while. I had to stay off it for 1 year in order to kind of curb it away. But however, when I have it now, I'll only have one serving.
Mm-hmm.
So the transition for me when I'm eating a no sugar diet, when I'm eating 5 days no sugar and 2 days off, I'm usually adding in complex carbs, and so I have more of the subacid fruits and the acid fruits, and then of course when I have chocolate, I make it from home.
Right.
Yes. I make it from home. So when you look at sustainability, alternating the diet plan and eating sugar on special occasions, I think it works for most people, and it also helps you to cope with the loss of the sweetness in your diet, and I think it really makes it more sustainable.
Doing it that way,
yeah, cutting back on sugar is probably a good idea really for everyone. When you think it actually helps to reduce a lot of things. Let's look at inflammation. Cutting back on sugar, the no sugar diet, you feel a difference in your body, and even sometimes 1 week. The energy, you're cutting back on sugar, but after the fourth day, your energy increases. It actually even helps Niobe to reduce sugar cravings as well.
I've experienced it for 5 days. I did it for 5 days, and I realized by day 5, I had a way lower what's the term, desire
For sugar.
That
Exactly.
was really interesting.
Cutting your sugar cravings. It just improves a person's overall health. So eating no sugar diet, it'll definitely even help you to lose some weight. And my favorite part about the no sugar diet, the promise is no need to count calories.
Yes.
Listen, whenever we talk about eating plans, I find myself leaning more towards the plans that doesn't necessarily to require me to count calories. What about you?
I do not like to count calories.
You don't, right? You think that's something with the people like us that are foodies?
Absolutely. You're telling me I can't have this amount of food. I want to eat this amount of food.
See, the thing is for me, Niobe, I don't mind restricting me from certain foods, but don't restrict me from the amount of food that I can eat. I know, right? When it comes to food, I need to be able to eat as much as I want, even if I'm eliminating a certain type of food. So what do you say about that?
What you always say, you are what you say and eat. So say your words deliciously.
This is
Eating Trends.